Hi, welcome to my video. I'm Jennifer Roberts. You're catching me on my YouTube channel, Bitchute channel, and my Facebook page at True Divine 44. You can also get me on my Instagram and Twitter at The True Divine. Any likes, shares, subscribes, follows, tweets are greatly appreciated, and much love to everybody who does that thus far, particularly those who leave the comments. I've slipped up on replying to being so busy, but I will get round to replying. I love reading the comments and seeing where you're at with the energies that I'm reading for each day and how you are working your way through them, how you're attaining through them, how you're processing through them. I appreciate knowing that, and I know all of the rest of you appreciate each other for knowing that also. It's building up a real community where people can be connected with one another, and I encourage those who create those friendships to have info on how to get in touch with each other, just in case YouTube continues going down the route it's going down, to see, you know, that there might be a little bit of a shake up there in the future, a little bit of a closing down there in the future for the while they recalibrate themselves. So this is where I deliver you the energies of the day and the mix with the tarot of the day to help you guide your way through your highest potentials for each day, helping you recognize the energies within you, around you, and within others. Take what resonates and ditch the rest. It is quite all right for you to do so. No offense will be taken. So this is for the 13th of January 2021. I'm just going to smile because I got the date right first time. We'll see if I do that for the second time when I type it in the description, or in the title, sorry. Right, okay, so let's look. We've got the World on the bottom of the deck. So this is speaking of the fixed nature of things, in the way things just work. You know, there's the 4 cardinal signs, there's the relationship that they have with one another to build the foundation blocks for the world itself. It also speaks of, you know, having your world at your feet. You know, you manifest your own reality, you manifest your own world. And that's what we need to take back. It really is what we need to take back. These beings behind these so-called powers that be have been harnessing through control, manipulation, oppression, division, suppression, all of the above and more. They've been using that to use our collective manifestation mind, and in order to create not our reality that we would want to see if we were in our internally balanced place with our divinities exalted as they should be, but their reality that they want to create, that they want to see. Now this has been very successful for them for a long period of time. I feel that I'm not alone. I know that I'm not alone in being fed up with that, ready for a change, ready for a different way of that going down, so to speak. Hey, Theodore. So it's up to us to do this, though. It's up to us to facilitate this for ourselves by creating this divinity from within, from essentially, it must be from a balanced place, in order to know that we are manifesting the reality that we want, that not what we are being subconsciously cattled into wanting even. And so this is where we need to take back our world, take back our divinity, take back our future and how it looks, and think outside of the box. Think big, think abundance, think health, think wealth in all areas of life. Instead of this conditioned lack, and in particular, we are being pummeled with lack all the time, aren't we? Throughout 2020 into 2021, it's been ridiculous. You know, the the lack of money, the lack of toilet roll, the lack of this, the lack of that, all of these lacks that are all manufactured in order to process us and through a certain conveyor belt of lack, so that we are so desperate that we collectively manifest the future that will facilitate the so-called powers that be still being in control of the world. Well, it's not their world. This is a living, breathing, creating being in itself. We are just part of it, as it is part of us. And so it is for us to be in connection with that world, for us to be, oh, just seeing a face on that world. Oh, wow, that looks very similar. This is a new deck, and that face looks very similar to some of the beings I've seen. Can you see that? Wow. That's just sent a shiver down my spine. Can you see that? I'm going to give it longer just in case. Wow. Shiver down the spine. So, watcher. Wow, wasn't expecting that. So we've got this capacity that's thrown me off a bit. We've got this capacity to do this now. To be complacent and think, well, it'll happen if such and such does this or creates this rule or does this law, or that's never going to be the case, because everybody in the highest points of law, medicine, politics is at the beholden to another. And that another is not going to allow, they're going to even let it look like they're allowing certain things to happen that are good for the collective, but that will all be part of the narcissistic, abusive relationship journey that we've been on thus far. You know, give a little love, you know, and take a lot back. You know, give a little love, take a lot back. Give a little hope, whip it away. It's that roller coaster that we've been on that has channeled us and cattled us into this complacent state. On the bottom of the other deck, it's coming back, this Eight of Swords. Many people today feeling themselves bound and tethered to their thoughts, tethered to their worries, tethered to thoughts that will not stop going round and round and round in their mind. This, of course, helps that manifestation of those that would not want good for you, that those that would not plan to have good in store for you. So this is where a lot of you might be in this place. If you look at this card again, the lady here is in red, so she's stuck in that lower maybe passionate but fearful place. So there's this passion for being the victim, this passion for being in fear. You can see here that her mouth is not gagged. Now, I've mentioned this before in a previous reading, that she's blind to see past these thoughts. Now, these thoughts being quite damaging to herself and anybody around her. Now, of course, this can be for male or female. It's just describing the depiction in the card. And so the mouth isn't gagged. And so whoever this is, whether it's you or whether it's somebody else around you, you'll find that they are very poisonous, very volcanic with their words, because that is the only outlet that they're allowing themselves to have. They've got themselves bound up and gagged, bound up and blindfolded, but they've made sure not to gag themselves. And so this is a lot of pent up thought energy, and that has to be let out somewhere. Now, the only sort of orifice she's got there is the mouth to allow that to be spewed at whoever comes close enough, or whoever triggers this victimhood or this fear factor within it. And so this is to be aware of. If it's you, and we all get there, believe you me, if it's you, this is a time that, you know, you need time to yourself today. You need time to allow yourself to help yourself to get out of this situation. If it's somebody else, you know, avoid them as best you can, because it would just make it a volatile situation, because once they've opened that mouth to release that tension of all of these pent up thoughts, they're going to keep releasing, and they're maybe going to say things that they regret, and it's things that aren't yours to own, so why hear them anyway? So it's not as if it's just going to be a quick snap then stop. No, this is because, you know, once you start releasing anything, you get relief from it. Even if it's releasing something good, you get relief from it. You don't just stop, you know, you continue the process for as long as you possibly can. That's the same way that if you're in victimhood or fear or both, you start that release, it feels good to have a little bit of space in your mind, to have a little bit of reprieve from it just being you suffering in that mental state. So it continues, and this is where things could get explosive, and things could get damaging to future relations, or damaging to children that might be around the situation. In the UK in particular, all of the schools are shut indefinitely for now, so the children are around, and so they don't need to hear this. They really don't need to hear this, because yes, we are under strain. Yes, we are being pummeled with these things that very easily cause us to go into victimhood or fear mode. But it is still a choice, no matter how hard, but it is still a choice to not fall into this space. And it is still a choice to empty that onto somebody else just because you cannot process it yourself. And so children in particular, I don't care what you're going through, you know, whether it's you or somebody around you, don't need to hear it. It's not theirs to own, but they will own it as children do. They will absorb it like a sponge, as children do. So be aware of that. If this is somebody around you, for some people that I can see and envisage this, take the kids out, you know, for the day. There's something about today with this person, whoever it might be, is, you know, volatile. It's a particularly tense day. Of course, if you're with somebody and this has been something that has been long and drawn out, this is where, you know, maybe you need to question how long and drawn out this can possibly go on for, particularly if there are children involved. Whether I'm talking to you, if this, you know, is resonating with you yourself, or whether it's resonating with you regarding somebody else who you live with or are in relationship with, in whatever way, shape or form. There's something maybe that needs to start to be contemplated here. There needs to be some kind of change here, particularly for those that I'm speaking to that have children involved, because it's not healthy for them to be around this energy at all, or for any length of time, and it's not theirs to own. And so we've got, that's the two bottom of the deck. So the first card, no, that's not the first card. This is the first card, the Nine of Cups in reverse. And so this is speaking of obstacles, overconfidence, where the Nine of Cups in the upright, you can see this guy looks really happy, really blissful. You know, he's got alignment here. He's got abundance. He's got reciprocity in relationships and whatnot. It's in reverse, so that would speak to this Eight of Swords here. So this Eight of Cups in reverse also speaks to this overconfidence. That might speak to a lot of people being overconfident in the way that they've actually bound and gagged themselves up, and a blind man on a galloping horse can see that, but they can't. A lot of these people are victory, what's it? If not victory marching, victory something, can't think of the term, but they are, you know, especially we see this in the political system in the US, and so we see this where we've got people that are so passionately bound to one side or the other, they're ready to be volatile with anybody with an outside opinion to that, and so, and they have an overconfidence in that, an overconfidence that they're right. It's going to end up burning them one way or the other. And so that does actually speak to that also, as far as the collective stage goes. This overconfidence is being played also on both sides of the spectrum in the collective stage, as in these so-called powers that be that are being puppeted by these beings behind them, and the people in the masses, where we see this overconfidence in these so-called powers that be on one side of the spectrum, with people who are still trusting, believing, and bound to that, the fear and victimhood mentality, believing everything that the government is saying to them, expecting everybody should be doing what the government is saying, particularly here in the UK. It's ridiculous on that end of the spectrum. And then we've got the other end of the spectrum of the higher frequency, awake, aware people who there's a warning shot here to not be overconfident either, to not be overconfident that you can be awake, aware and alert, but it is time to be active too, to take certain actions, to be active, not regarding trying to reach these people because they've chosen the lane, they've decided where they're going to be at, but to making having overconfidence in that, you know, spirit light will save the day. Well, yeah, it will, but that comes from within each and every one of us. And so if there's no action there, if there's no flow there, if there's no connections being made with one another there, then, you know, it will be futile. So there's a warning shot there for either side of the spectrums. But then we've also got here this overconfidence being played with the so-called powers that be, and the moving parts within those also. There's some ego involved here. And these people that are puppeted in front of us are very well trained. They've all been to the same types of colleges, moved in the same circles, and have done so for generation after generation. Money circles, and certain types of schools and colleges and universities, certain types of family setups. And so there's always this overconfidence because they're, you know, they're literally injected with pomp and, you know, grandeur, I'm sure, from being born. But there's this something about today that this overconfidence, but usually they stay in line to a certain extent. They stay in their, within their rules to a certain extent. There's some kind of speech being made today, or quote being quoted today that leaks a bit more than they should. Now, I'm not talking or being naive regarding leaks, because we know that even leaks that come across as exciting and wow, they didn't mean to say that, or that's a leak because they're good. You know, it's a leak because, you know, this is a very complex game that is being played to channel the masses. So most of those leaks are leaks that they want to be heard. Not all, I'm just speaking about the leaks that come from these puppets' mouths. You know, usually they're very, very scripted, even though sometimes they don't look like it. And that's deliberate. I'm not talking about leaks of, you know, certain whistleblowers, certain brave people that go above and beyond to try and help the collective. No. So look out for that. Leave a comment to that as to anything you think that might resonate with. We've got the Hierophant card to clarify this Nine of Cups here. And so this Hierophant card, he is sharing the wisdom, the wisdom of the three layers of the esoteric, mesoteric, and exoteric. So we have the within, and in that we have the without. In that we have the ether, the spiritual. We have the organized religious systems also. And so there's some things happening here where I've been feeling this, and this is why for a long time I put the link into Archbishop Viganò's speech regarding him being very worried regarding him realizing that the church has been infiltrated. Well, there's this key sect from, you know, the place of I that does not that doesn't have really anything to do with the country. It's just they can tie that into the script. They have infiltrated, because they have no country, they have infiltrated every political system that they possibly can. Not all, but everyone that they possibly can, and it's extensive. They have infiltrated the systems underneath those political systems, these alphabetic agencies. And they've also done that to the church. Now, the church had a very pompous overconfidence about itself, because, you know, church and state was always meant to be separated. Well, it never was. You know, the church literally set up the idea of government. And, you know, in England, it was the church's, you know, determination really that a lot of the rules came from regarding what kings and queens passed and how kings and queens should go on. And so this was a creation of that business, that side of things. And so it was never separated. So the church has had this overconfidence, particularly, you know, anything that springs from the Vatican has had this overconfidence, because it has had a lot of reasons to be confident over the years. It's had a lot of power politically, and therefore a lot of power over the collective. But there's been this growing of globalists that are now telling the church what to do. And I keep hearing a conversation along with a vision of the Pope on the telephone to a certain gate. And the conversation keeps going as well. You can't do that. What will the people think? You can't stand in place of God. And then all I hear is, we are gods. And we are gods now. And laughing down the phone. And so there's this real threats being made that the church is conforming to. It's this realization that I keep picking up on via the church that, okay, we've been infiltrated, there's been a coup going on behind the scenes. There's been certain sacrificial lambs, and I'm sure that that is tied into the rumors of certain arrests made within Italy recently, and that will be played out to look like a really good thing, especially on the sides of Trump. But actually, that was always a sacrificial lamb in order for the church to be able to keep up its guise for a bit longer, at least, regarding being and having still a say in and a role in the power. But there is this power that has created this coup, because they've given the church a lot of funds or a lot of reverence up until now. And now it's payback time. Now it's cashing in time on that. And this overconfidence of the Vatican did not foresee that. And this is where I see that being played out over the year of 2020, and in particularly this year, this month thus far. As far as individual lives, there are huge openings for this knowledge, this spirit to be of spirit knowledge, of the hidden, of the things that you having certain remembrances and having certain inner standings that you didn't have before, and this opening up of your capacity to actually understand them has really been ramping up. But a lot of you are still having that slight conditioning issue of doubting yourself in this, of doubting that you could be the powerful being that you are envisioning and that you are having remembrance of, or that you are seeing or feeling. There's still this obstacle of this conditioning that is coming to the fore, that's stopping you truly accepting this aspect of you, this aspect of what and who you've been and what and who you are. And so I'd say to that, just trust yourself. You know, it's not to trust anything within power systems that are trying to direct you, but to really trust you is okay. And it's a new way of learning, it's a new way of being, because we've been so conditioned to trust that which is outside of us, the savior that's going to come swooping in, the political figure that's going to do this, that and the other, and the church and whatnot. But this is you, and it's just having that, giving yourself that permission to really absorb that aspect of you and start living through that aspect of you. It is yet another beautiful dimension of you, another layer of you, and it's powerful. And it gives you the realization of being able to almost be like in the Matrix movie. A lot of you are sort of seeing the Matrix and seeing this veil, or these veils that have been put over this beautiful being that we're on right now, this living, breathing, creating being that we're on right now. This hijack of the mind to box it off into an organized system of religion. And so to just trust in the development of what is coming forward to you would be the way to go today, absolutely, for where you're being led by spirit, to know that it's okay to be discerning, yes, but don't be mistrusting of self. If it's this relearning to trust you, trust your gut, trust your intuition, your gifts, your inner standings. And so that's for many of you, actually. It's an overall energy of today. As far as the other side of the spectrum, in the collective, in individual lives, it's this witnessing of other people on the opposite end of the spectrum being boxed in even more so by this false wisdom that is being passed down, you know, these false statistics, these false death rates, and so we see that, you know, they really do turn their 9 cups upside down, you know, and put themselves in that locked position. I think I mentioned that, but just in case I didn't go over that. So the next card is the 3 of Pentacles in reverse. And so this is speaking of, if you look at it in the upright here, you've got the 3 pentacles in the archway, and you've got the people working together here as a team and getting things done, achieving things, achieving goals, projects, endeavors. And so in reverse, there's sloppy workmanship here. There's a sloppiness to this, and this is where we need strength, because there is this, we're almost having to sort of catch up to the point of being able to learn how to work together and rely upon each other, rather than relying upon governments, rather than relying upon others to do something, and then we'll get on the train, you know, to help along. But, you know, to activate ourselves to be and have the strength to put ourselves above the pulpit, to organise what we have the capacity and what we have the gifts to organise, what we have the ability to organise, and being guided by our intuition in the divine feminine here in the strength card, but also having the action of the divine masculine. You know, this Leo lion here that she is prizing the jaws open of, and that's not in a nasty way. This is just to say that, you know, where we are channeling our male divine masculine energy should not be to go and fight on behalf of anybody else. It should be to take action in a way that is not of war, not of violence, but of directed from the divine feminine within, of compassion for others, but having the wisdom to know what needs to get done. So while everyone else is distracted, however you can play this out today, to say, where in your life have you been given sloppy workmanship, that you know, that things, projects, ideas that you wanted to get done, and certainly for those who want to serve the collective as well as yourself, what's been putting you off from taking action? What are you waiting for? Would be the question to ask yourself, and activate yourself to get things done in a methodical way, and have the intuition to know where you're being guided in order to fulfill that with the divine feminine, but also the strike position of striking when the iron is hot, striking at the right time with that divine masculine energy, and not diluting that divine masculine energy by going and putting that out into an echo chamber, which would be, you know, following the script that is being played out in front of us. Particularly in my brothers and sisters in the US. I know this doesn't probably resonate with any of you that are listening, but you're witnessing people around you, obviously, that are being very sloppy about where they're being guided to go to, that they're being very sloppy about, you know, listening to their gut, listening to their divine feminine, and they're taking action in a place that actually they can't see has been scripted for them to take action. That being the whole reason, I feel, for the raid, the getting into the capital the other day, you know, to put that seed, put that idea in people's minds, you know, because we can all tell where those people that did that came from, and who and what they weren't. And so this was a ritual. This was a planned event that was a ritual. Why? Because one, they needed to have certain sacrifices on there that would help them bring about the next phases. And one of those phases is to plant that seed in people's minds that that is the heroic thing to do, that that is the heroic way to serve your country, particularly when it's leading up to the 20th and the 21st. And so we've got, on the next card, we've got the 9 of Swords. A lot of you might be struggling with sleep. There's some of you, and me included, that are having what would be described as nightmares, as visions of timelines that, you know, are trying to be brought about. That's not to say that they're solidified in stone, but it is to say that you're picking up on the energies and the plans of where these so-called powers that be are trying to drive the collective. and that would be to have certain plans to create the next domino in the line, to create that domino effect, to be able to bring about things like taking the guns, taking the ammo, taking, you know, to protect you from you, and things like that. We see that in the UK, actually, physically, a lot of nightmares are being created regarding Brexit and regarding the shit show that Brexit is, and that has been part of the plan to create a lack of food, lack of medicine, lack of certain EU laws, i.e. one of the things that have just been passed is a pesticide that was banned and is still banned under EU law because it kills bees, very definitely kills bees. And, you know, now that they can, the UK government have signed that off to say, yeah, use that as much as you want. It's fine. The bees, we don't need bees. Who needs bees? They've created with Brexit the inability to bring food, produce of dairy, fish, meat, basically food. I think vegetation also, anywhere from the EU. Honey is included in that, and killing the bees also. So yes, we're seeing that not just the visions of what is to come, maybe if things continue to be cattled in a certain direction, but also we're seeing the fruition of the complacencies of us be allowing ourselves to be divided, the same way the UK was divided and so passionate on either side. No Brexit, yes Brexit, no Brexit, yes Brexit, when all along the government knew they were going to get Brexit. All along they knew how to make that happen, how to actually make the people manifest that, and not just manifest it, beg for it. And again, they were gaslighted in a very similar way to the way that we see America being gaslighted now. You know, that, you know, Trump has turned into some kind of martyr. Biden, predominantly the bad guy. And the divide is set, and people are ready to fight for the right of either side to be in place, when they've already decided who is going to be in place. And I'm not saying that's Biden either. I'm just saying that this is all scripted in order to, either way it goes, they've cattled the people, just like Brexit, into a position where they can predict an outcome. You know, either one that gets in, the globalist plan would still go ahead with either one. But at the same, just like with Brexit, if it had come back no Brexit, then they would have, you know, changed the numbers. But they've done a very good job at predicting how to light up the collective, how to get them to think one thing was going to be better than the other. And of course, they got what they wanted. They're going to get what they want if people cause this nightmare situation and fight, you know, because that will be their excuse to take the guns, the next phase in the plan. But we see here that we are being asked, whatever side of the water that you're on, we're being asked to calm our minds, take ourselves to calmer waters, take ourselves to calmer horizons, and grow in that process. Learn what it is to channel the thoughts rather than the thoughts channel us. Creating newness, not being in these choppy waters that are very volatile, that are very damaging to anything around, very eroding. to be going into the flowing yet still waters that are calm. And finding the growth in that, finding the lessons in that, although the immediate and visceral reaction would be to take action to end this nightmare, and you know, that action might come to a certain extent, but not right now, because to do it right now would create that would lay the very ground that they want to be laid. Now, in your individual lives, a lot of you are feeling this nightmare, and I feel like it's a lot of you from the people you have around you, from the circle of friends, from the people in your family, and it's creating this lack of sleep. It's creating stress and strain. This is urging you to remove yourself from that situation, and finding the lessons, finding the growth in that, because it's not easy to do. Nobody would say that, but to find somewhere that is calm, where you can bring peace to your mind, where you can start something new in flowing, yes, but not volatile waters. There's only certain amount of time that we can stay in volatile waters before we drown, and this is where it's the release from this Eight of Swords that is bound and blindfolded to the real issue. Difficult though. Difficult for those that resonate with that. It's not an easy energy to be around at all. But again, I feel that I'm speaking to a lot of you. The children are involved. And children are being affected by it. And a lot of you, it might be that those nightmares that you're having, those sleepless nights, are worried about children. In particular, one of you is really worried about a child being embroiled in and being very blind to and very sold on the goings on the 20th in the US. There's a real worry here as to how that will play out for your child, albeit young adult child, but child nevertheless. There's a lot of you who are mothers and fathers of younger children also, and I can resonate with this, and I must do a video on this. A live video will be good, where I can talk to you as I'm going to, because the children are being affected by these ridiculous rules, you know, because these people want to harness even more power, even more control. And the children are being deeply affected. I know Theodore, you know Theodore, you all know Theodore. He's a happy-go-lucky boy. He's a happy-go-lucky boy, and you know, he's very, very upbeat. He's a pleasure to be around. All my kids are, but Theodore in particular is really missing the camaraderie of his fellow kids his age, you know. He's really missing that. They're puppies, aren't they? They're puppies. They want to roll around together. They want to, you know, fly together with their coats hanging out, you know, like a cape. They want to do all of the things that kids that age do. 1 second, I'll grab these cards, and they want to be free to do it, you know, in a way that is normal. It's how they learn. It's how they grow. It's how they learn how to communicate, and they learn through play. And so he has cried most nights when I'm putting him to bed. He's cried most nights when I'm putting him to bed, in particular because he's missing his cousin who is the same age, who, you know, family splits happen. And so he's missing him. and he's missing his friends, you know, that he used to be around. And so, and it's not that I won't be around other people. It's because I'm talking about Theodore being stressed, bless me. So it's not, but other people are nervous of the rules, and not so much the virus, not the people I know, but the rules, you know, of neighbours snitching and whatnot like that, which again does not bother me. But you know, I'm going to do a video on this actually because I need to. And so I'm going to do a video on this because I need to explain it further as to what you can do. But you are the womb for that child, whether you're the male or the female in that child's life. You can create their world, and yes, it's difficult, and yes, we do have to allow our children to recognize the difficulty that they're feeling, but ultimately we create their world that they are living in. They live through us to a certain extent. They watch us all the time. They watch how stressed we are, watch how happy we are, watch how balanced we are. So if we are not getting enough rest and we are stressed out and not around the right people, if we're not being with the right people, then we, you know, are giving off that vibe to them. It's up to us to take them to calmer waters mentally. So reading the stories, doing the games, doing the books, you know, doing the creative projects, all of that will help stabilize that situation. Now, for the person who was really worried about their child being involved with the things that are going to be going on the 20th in the US, we've got the Judgment card, we've got the Hangman, well, the Hanging Dragon, and the Three of Cups. And so, yes, this is a worry because you're a mother, in particular, the person I'm picking up on. But actually the father or the male role model in this child's life that has said, you know, they're going to do what they're going to do, it's their path, it's their life, actually hasn't got a bad point, even if that point's coming from not so much the most wisdom-filled place. In that there's certain things that this child is going to really learn from, and you trying to shelter them from that with this Judgment card, and you trying to shelter them from that is actually not going to allow their growth to be in the accelerated way that them actually going forward to what they're drawn towards in the first place. So they're being drawn towards this, and nothing you say or do is going to stop them. So to be able to talk to them about it openly without them feeling like you're going to immediately try and do that, you know, is very important. Or giving them the respect to not even talk about it at all if you don't feel that you can come to the conversation from that place. And so this Hanging Dragon is about, you know, there's a certain enlightenment about the child being at that in this space. There's certain inner standings that will happen for this child that will bring about a greater inner standing than you could ever pass down to them regarding the bigger pictures about the certain actions that they're going to see, yes, but they're going to be able to decipher everything that you've been able to decipher regarding people being cattled into certain responses and whatnot. So there is a lot of enlightenment here for them to have. And actually there's celebration in this, in that the people that they're going with are trustworthy friends. They're trustworthy people to be with. They do love one another. And so there is this camaraderie that you can trust in, that, you know, they're going to be okay. And the Nine of Cups is on the bottom of the deck. If this is for you, I hope it helps. But the Nine of Cups is on the bottom of the deck, and it's not in reverse. So where we see that this overconfidence, it feels like, you know, there's certain things this child's going to see that's going to knock the confidence down a peg or two, that they're going to see a little bit of the real world and maybe the state that the real world is in as far as balance. And, you know, I just feel that this child in particular has a key role to play with this Judgment card going forward, of of needing this experience to add to the wisdom that they're going to use in the future, to not just release themselves from certain conditioned, controlled ways of thinking, but actually be a key player in releasing many others. And this is going to be a harking back point in their discussions with others to when their journey started, to where their enlightenment started. So I hope that helps if that's you. And I hope it reaches your eyes and ears quickly so that that can bring you some kind of peace of mind in that situation. That's the reading for the 13th of January 2020. I appreciate you all, love you all. I can't thank you enough for coming and listening to me. And thank you for leaving the comments so that I know that I'm doing something good here. If you want a personal reading with me, you can hook up with me at truedivinemedia@gmail.com. If you want any spiritual guidance sessions, any energy work sessions, the same email goes. Or for all three of those, you can book up with me through my Facebook business page at True Divine 44. I appreciate and love you all. Stay balanced, stay whole, stay happy and strong. Mwah.